Hi everyone! Happy Saturday! I'm recording from my sister's home in Charlotte. We are headed in about 4 hours to get on a flight for Belize. So I'm happy to present this video for y'all to have in the morning, and I hope you enjoy. So let's find a seated position on your mats. Elevating your hips on one of the Airdyne mats if you need to, just to get comfortable. And we'll find our breath. Deep, deep belly breathing. Pausing for a moment, not in our breath, but in our need to do things, our need to be somewhere, our need to follow up with something or get something done, that itinerary list that rolls through, pausing from that to just be present. I found a lot this week with being able to take this breath and utilize it in the workouts, especially today with that, well, it would have been, when you see this video, it will have been yesterday with that 6 rep max chest press. It's like, through the mind, man, I gotta get packed, I gotta get the dogs to the Fogels, all sorts of different things going through my head, but just that breath and being able to pause and say, okay, here, I gotta show up for this chest press. I gotta really dial in on my form, on my breath, on my concentration. That's what we're doing here. We're establishing that ability to find your center before anything. All right, let's blink open our eyes and extend our right foot forward, and we're gonna cradle the left leg. So with our right leg extended forward, we'll take our left arm under our left shin and then grab a hold of the foot with the right arm. And you're just gonna cradle that shin, and we're gonna just pull the leg towards the chest. A little bit of movement just to find those hip bones on the ground is good. We'll rock back and forth, just getting into that outer hip. Did some work with us and getting over those boxes, getting over those jumps. Some of the hang cleans, you're using those hips to thrust the bar up. Just getting this nice stretch and opening before we begin. Breathing into it, sitting up nice and tall. Just found myself slouching back, so it's a good reminder to extend up through the head. And then I'm just going to take that leg cradled and I'm going to rock left to right. So just getting some of that movement through the hip, keeping both hip bones rooted on the mat, and just rocking back and forth, side to side. Shoulder blades relaxed down the back. Rocking slightly back and forth. Breathing deep, sitting nice and tall. Lower that left foot to the outside of the right leg, and we're going to take the crook of the right elbow and put it around the knee. I like to hold on to my hand just by my knee, and then with that, I'm going to sit up nice and tall, both hips grounded on the mat. I'm going to hug in with that right forearm, and then I'm going to twist. So you should really be feeling that stretch down along the outside left hip. Nice and tall, still being able to find that full breath. Nothing gripping, nothing pinching, just finding that nice, good stretch. Finding already in my practice with y'all that my eyes are pretty closed, and that's just how kind of connected and aware I want you to be of your body, just to tune in and really figure out, oh, if I sit up a little bit taller, if I turn into my leg a little bit more, where am I feeling that stretch, and where does it feel good for me? That's the main thing. Where does it feel good for you, your own personal body, your own movement? Breathing, sitting up nice and tall. If you want, you can take that left hand against the thigh to kind of twist open a little bit further and take that right tricep along the quad. Extend your left hand behind you and open up further into that twist. This is going to get more into your back, more into the opening through the chest and the shoulders. Hard chest work there yesterday. Again, making sure we're sitting up nice and tall. Another breath here. On the exhale, relax and come back towards center. We'll extend the left leg to meet the right. Pause, checking in, seeing how your body feels, taking a deep breath. We will grab a hold of our right leg, so we're going to take that right hand under the right calf, and we're going to take that left hand and grab a hold of the foot. So we're just cradling that leg. Once again, sitting up nice and tall. So the difference between that would be kind of rounding out and hunching over the leg, or trying to grab a hold and sitting up nice and tall. And here I'm just going to rock front and back. Find that balance on my hips, where I want to be sitting nice and tall. And then once I find that position that I'm comfortable in, I'm not feeling any strain or pain in my lower back, I'm going to rock from side to side. So keeping that hip grounded on the mat, I'm going to rock that leg left and right. Checking in, listening to the body, making sure you are free of any pain. A little discomfort, a little like, why is she asking me to get in this pose? That's normal, but no pain. This day is not about no pain, no gain. This day. Really looking to feel this down through the outer hip and then rocking back and forth. It's kind of opening up through those hip flexors, believe it or not. Reducing any tightness there. We'll take our right foot, place it on the outside of the left leg, and then I want to take the crook of that left elbow and place it right along my knee. Grab a hold with that hand on the wrist and hug in with that forearm. So I'm taking the forearm and I'm just kind of hugging in, which will draw my quad towards my chest. Really looking to isolate and get that stretch in the outer hip. So this we're finding, we're not trying to twist too much here. We're really finding that length in our spine, sitting up nice and tall, and isolating that hip. Deep breaths, no constriction, no restriction in the belly. If we find our belly being stuck, we can lean back out of the stretch, kind of find where our stomach will lay against our quad, and then come back into the stretch. Another breath here. If I want to come more into this stretch, get a little out of my hip and get a little more into my back, into opening up through that chest in the back, I'm going to place my triceps, my left triceps against my thigh, put my right hand behind me and push into that quad to get more of a twist. Sitting up nice and tall, I'm on my fingertips, my left fingertips behind my body. Just allows me to bring the ground a little bit further up. My arms are a little short. I don't know if anybody else has that, but the fingertips allow just for that kind of greater height. I don't want to be sinking back, trying to get my palm on the ground, so my fingertips are okay. Another breath here. On the exhale, come back towards center. Extend the left leg to meet the right. We'll just shake out our legs. Sit nice and tall. I'd like to open up through the shoulders. So staying in that stretched out position. I want to take the hands behind us. Notice how my fingertips are pointing towards my toes. My shoulders are over my wrists. I'm going to point my toes. I'm just going to lift up through my heels. So here I am, opening through my chest, through my shoulders. Breathing, extending as if someone was pulling out through my toes. Exhale, set the hips down. Come up towards sitting. In that staff pose, we're going to work through that 2 more times to just get into those shoulders and open them up through a little bit of movement. Hands extend behind you, fingers pointing towards the toe. If that's too much, you can turn your fingertips so they face the opposite side and lift up and push through there. Try it out if you haven't tried this before. This stretch with your fingers pointing behind you, so your fingertips pointed away from your body, you're going to get some stretch through your forearms, through your wrists. Exhale, set the hips back down, sit up nice and tall. Whew, really feeling it through those shoulders. I know I've heard around the gym some talk about just like the tightness through the shoulders. This is really good to get that open and kind of that fluid moving back through that joint. It's really complex up there. So I'm going to take with the third round, the last round, with my fingertips facing towards my body. You choose what works best for you. Either way, hands extended, shoulders over wrists, feet pointed out, heels on the ground, draw up through the belly. Core is nice and engaged, opening up through that chest. One more breath. Exhale down. Come up. We'll cross those legs, roll forward over the shins onto hands and knees. I'm going to back up on my mat just slightly. My favorite way to get the body moving is cat-cow, so knees under the hips, wrists just in front of the shoulders. We're going to inhale, arch the back. Exhale, round. Inhale, arch. Drawing that chest forward. Exhale, round. And I've come around before and pointed to the diaphragm area, but I really want that movement generating from your core, from the center. So when you inhale, you're drawing that belly down towards the ground, chest and hips moving in the opposite direction towards the ceiling. Then when we exhale, we're drawing those shoulders and those hips down towards the mat as the middle of our back rounds up. We get that stretch right through. A couple more times through that cat-cow. And the next inhale, find that neutral spine. We're gonna work dolphin. So when you're coming from here, we're gonna set our forearms down to the ground. So we opened up the front of our shoulders, stretched back through that first position. Now we're gonna work through the back and the rear delts. So you're gonna drop your forearms onto the ground. So your forearms are along right in front of you. Your hands are clasped. Your shoulders are gonna be just above your elbows. And we're going to curl those toes, leaving the arms exactly where they are. We're going to curl our toes from that elbow and knee position, and we're going to draw back like we would be in downward facing dog, but our forearms are going to stay on the mat. Once you're here, you're going to push through those forearms. So if I'm here, I'm just going to push down in the ground in my forearms, and I'm going to draw my head back in between my upper arms. Slight bend in the knees, keeping that body pushed back so our head is drawing in line with our arms as we open up through this whole area, through the back of the shoulders, down a little bit through our lats. I like a slight bend in my knees. It really helps me take the pressure away from my hips and get into and isolated in those shoulders. Shoulder blades draw down the back, so shoulders are repressed away from the ears, and we're just really focusing on getting that movement through the shoulders. Down onto hands and knees, knees open wide, feet touching, come back into child's pose. Arms outstretched in front. Head can be slightly raised off the mat in this position, or the forehead can be resting on the mat. Either way, I want those arms and those fingertips crawling forward, getting that nice stretch. When you're in this position, I want you to imagine trying to roll your triceps under and your biceps towards the ceiling. So in that, I'm rotating the crease of my elbow up towards the ceiling, and that will help draw my shoulder blades back. So instead of being in this position, I'm drawing back and down through the shoulders. So coming up onto your hands and knees, we're going to curl the back toes and push back into downward facing dog. Taking a breath here with the legs open. Butt pushed back up towards the ceiling. Take a look at our hands. Step the left foot towards the hands. And then we're going to swing our upper body towards the right so we come into a wide leg forward fold. So you're keeping that adjustment of the legs nice and wide, knees slightly bent. You're going to inhale, part way up. Exhale, lower down. Inhale, part way up. Exhale, walk your hands over to your left. I'm going to grab a hold of, I'm either going to leave my right hand just in front of my toes, or I'm going to draw both hands to the outer part of my left shin. I'm going to let my upper body hang over that left leg. Both hips, I don't want to drop too much into that left side. We're going to keep both hips nice and even as our upper body drops along that thigh. So it's more like the chest coming to your thigh, opening up through those hips, through those hamstrings. Oh, leg day this week, right? Opening up through the hamstrings. Glute gains. If anybody did glute gains on Wednesday, it definitely felt the gains there. Slight bend in the knees. Be aware of any hyperextension going on. Inhale, exhale through center over to our right side. So again, leaving those left hands just out in front of the right toes, or drawing that left hand to meet the right on top of the shin, or excuse me, on the outside of the shin. Here I just came mindful that my left hip was kind of dropping in, so that way I could get more of the rotation. So I just say, no thank you. Then I draw my left hip back and then make the twist and fold over. Breathing nice and deep, keeping those hips even in the center between the toes. Your next exhale, we're going to walk back over to the left-hand side. This time, we're going to take the right hand to the outside of the ankle. Hips even, we're going to take that left hand to the lower back. So you can do some work here and feeling your body and making sure that sacrum, the flat part on the lower part of the back, is nice and even. This twist will allow us to open up again through the back, through the shoulders. Legs are engaged slightly. Should be feeling this through your hamstrings, through the lats. Exhale, release the left hand, walk over to the right. Deep breath, left hand on the outside of the shin, right hand to the sacrum, to the lower back. Using that pull of my left hand right now on my ankle to really draw down and feel through these delts, through those lats. All in the meantime, keeping that back nice and flat and hips even. We should be feeling a nice open stretch through the hamstrings, inner thighs. Come towards the center. We're going to bend through that left leg, allow the right toes to come up. You may need to wiggle the heel in just a little bit. We're going to sit down into a squat on the left side. I like to put my hands in prayer, partially because I'm praying about this stretch, but also because it just helps with balance. So I'm bending at like a squat into that left leg, and I should be really feeling that through the inner right thigh and hamstring. Toes are up towards the ceiling. Chest nice and tall forward. Knee in line with the toes. It's okay that the knee is slightly over the toes in this position. And then we're going to put our hands onto the floor, help us push up. We're going to straighten through those right toes. We're going to drop into a squat on that right leg, turning the left toes up towards the ceiling. Hands to chest. You can stay up in a higher squat if you need to. Rest the hands onto the legs. You're looking for that stretch primarily down through the inner thigh and through the hamstrings. Again, I'm going to back out. I'm going to walk that left heel just a little bit further forward because I felt a little too much of a pull. Inhale here, sink into that squat. Let go a little bit of that tension. Inhale, exhale, hands down to the ground, come into a wide forward fold. And then we're going to pivot the opposite direction. So we're going to walk our hands over the right foot and step back into downward facing dog, right foot matching the left foot. Walk those legs out, so bending, alternating, bend the left knee, straighten the right leg. Switch it up. And take a look up at our hands, step, jump, hop, walk towards the front of the mat. Inhale up, exhale down, grasp the hands just behind the back and extend those knuckles towards the ceiling. Nice stretch to our shoulders. If your hands are resting on your back, that's okay. You can fold at the elbows and take this position rather than clasping the hands. So you're just holding onto each elbow and you're in that forward fold. Slight bend in the knees. If you are in that position, switch the crossing of your arms, so grabbing the opposite elbows. Feels a little funny at first. Exhale, lower the hands to the ground. Inhale, part way up. Exhale, down. Push through the feet, root to rise. Inhale, big inhale, standing up nice and tall. Exhale, arms releasing, hands at the sides. Little clothing adjustment. All right, so we're gonna go through 2 warriors. So you're in front of your mat. When you inhale, arms up overhead. Exhale, swan dive forward. Inhale, part way up. Exhale, hands to the ground. Step your left foot towards the back of the room. Allow the left heel to drop down so the back foot is open at a 45-degree angle. Heel and heel in line with one another, so take a look back. Line those up, and then we're going to inhale and lift the body straight forward. So my hips, as best I can, are going to try and stay geared over that right thigh towards the front of the room, and my hands are up nice and tall. Warrior 1. Slight bend kept in the back left leg. Right knee is tracking out over that second toe, the one in from the big toe. So if you're looking down at your front leg and you see your knee dropping in, or you're seeing your knee really push out to the side, just take a look and have that knee track right from the hip, right over the toes. Good, exhale, frame that right foot. Right foot steps back to meet the left in downward facing dog. Looking back up towards the hands, step. Now your right foot forward, left foot back. And if that is the opposite, switch. So whichever side you did last time, switch it up this time. So that way you're opposite the way you were before. So I believe that's going to be, the left foot forward, right foot back. Then we're going to inhale, arms reach up overhead. And I did it again. I cut off my head. So maybe if I do like that. And then I back up a little bit. My screen went black, so I didn't see it. But here I am. Look, I'm totally now in front of you for the most part. It's all a learning curve. Again, knee tracking out over the toe, so not dropping in. We're like black on black, so you can't really tell, but not knee dropping in, not knee dropping wide. Nice and in line, heels in line with one another, hips, instead of turning out towards the side, are geared more forward. Deep breaths here, shoulders relaxed. Exhale, hands to frame the front left foot, pivot up onto those toes, step back into downward facing dog. From down facing dog, you are going to take a look at your hands, step, walk, jump, hop, back up to your hands. Inhale, part way up. Exhale, down. Push through the feet. Stand up nice and tall, root to rise. Hands to heart. Woo, deep breath there. We're going to get back into those hips. We're going to do a little bit of Humble Warrior. It's so good. One of my favorite songs right now is that Stay Humble. And it's great to be reminded of this. So let's do it. Inhale, arms up, nice and tall. Exhale, forward fold down. Inhale, part way up. Exhale, step your right foot back. Allow the right heel to drop towards the ground. We're going to inhale, come up into Warrior One. And then we're going to take that clasp behind the back. Again, if this clasp doesn't work for you, you can cross your arms just across your back. So we're in that nice stance where our knees tracking out over our toes. We have our hands clasped behind our back. We're going to inhale, chest open, and then we're going to drive our chest and our shoulders on the inside of that right leg. So we're bending forward. So that right shoulder should be just inside my right leg. Inhale, nice and strong here. You're staying strong through that right leg. So when I'm dipping forward, my leg is hugged right into my shoulder and not dropping super far out to the side. So it's hugging right in. And here we are, being humble. Keeping that neck nice and long. When I went from this kind of like rounded position to extending further forward, so if you like peek your head up and look at me, you can kind of see like the difference between kind of sneaking your head a little bit more extended forward. I really feel that down through the outer thigh. Hands down, step back into downward facing dog. Deep breath. Exhale, left foot steps forward. Right heels drop towards the mat. Arms up overhead. From here, arms drop down behind. We're taking that clasp behind the back, either here or taking that cross elbow opposite of what you just did before. So taking that cross or that clasp behind the back. Over here. And then we're going to drop into, nice stretch forward, drop right into that inner thigh. Arms stretched back. Get as much range of motion as you can there. And notice how I said as much range of motion as you can. So it's you, it's not the person next to you. We all get to pick on each other about what's tight. So if it's not one spot on you, it may be another. And it's all fun. Deep breaths here. Release the arms. Frame the front foot. Step back into downward facing dog. Knees drop to the mat. Come back into child's pose. This time allowing, instead of arms outstretched, allowing the arms to lay back behind you. Head, forehead on the mat. Inhale, come up nice and tall. I am going to stay sitting back on my heels. If this is uncomfortable for you at all in your knees, you can add something just on top of your heels, so that way you're elevated. You can take another run, get another rolled up mat, and you can just place that right across the back of your Achilles. That just takes some of the pressure, the clamping off those front knees. So I'm going to stay, actually feels really good for me. So I'm going to stay with this mat tucked behind my heels. And we're going to do some of the stretches that you've seen before. They're really just some old school stuff. Some things just never change, and they're really good to get open. So I know we did those ring dips yesterday. I'd like to get into my shoulders and my triceps. So what I'm going to do is take my left arm, I'm going to bring it up overhead, and I'm just going to take that hand and allow it to drop towards the center of my back. I can already start to feel this stretch in my left tricep. Take the right hand up overhead, grab a hold of the back of the elbow, and just go ahead and pull that arm straight up. Sitting nice and tall, that hand is just across the top of the back. Head pushing back into the arms is to not pitch forward a lot. Kind of finding room for everything up there. Deep breaths here, sitting up nice and tall. Next exhale, release the right hand from the elbow, open the arms nice and wide. Pushing that chest through so you can see if I'm sitting sideways with my arms open. Kind of just leaning forward, arching through that low back and just opening up through the chest. Little do you know, we're getting quite a bit of a quad stretch in here too. So switch sides. We're going to draw the left arm straight up overhead. Right hand comes towards the center of the back. Already, oh, this is so good. Already feeling it. Left hand grabs a hold of the elbow. And we're breathing through there. Sitting up nice and tall. What it looks like from the back is that arm drawn up, hand towards the center, back behind that first vertebrae, the cervical and thoracic. Your hand's right there, and then your other hand is drawing that elbow straight up towards the ceiling. Keep breathing there, taking another breath. Release those hands nice and wide, opening up through the chest. Cross your left arm in front of your body. I'm scooping my right forearm just on the forearm side of my left arm. So here I'm stretching through the shoulders. That right arm is straight up and just kind of got that lock pattern on it. So when you do jiu-jitsu, this has probably got to be some arm hold, crazy move. I was talking to one person who has a fight coming up. I know there's other people with fights coming up, so getting those joints lubricated and healthy is important to be able to get through some of these holds. Exhale out, we're not going to hold long there. Cross the right body across the chest. Left forearm is just below the elbow on the forearm side. Breathing and stretching through those shoulders. Deep breath here. allowing that shoulder to really feel the benefits of a stretch after a hard week. Release that. If you do have a mat, take it out. If you're just on your heels, that's fine. Sit back in a cross-legged position. Here we're going to stretch a little bit through the shoulder. So if I'm behind, what I'm going to do is take a hold. I'm going to extend my right arm down, take a hold of that right wrist with my left hand, and I'm just going to take my head right over to the left. So I'm feeling this stretch down through the traps that come up and attach in your sternocleidomastoid that goes across the front. We're stretching through everything there that might have seen some tension coming through. Switching sides, letting that left arm drop forward and down, taking a hold of it with the wrist, and dropping the ear to the shoulder. Getting that stretch down through the neck. Breathing there. Breath is super important. All right, release that stretch, shake out through the arms a little. Let's lay right on our back, so roll over right onto your backs. Finding that evenness, so what I like to do is kind of bring my heels in towards my glutes, lift up and find neutral in my spine. I want to extend the left leg, draw the right leg into the chest and across the body. So first we're drawing in, and then we're drawing across the body. So taking a hold of it with the opposite hand. Right hand falls open to the side. Gaze can follow that right hand, or it can be up towards the ceiling. Just adding a little bit of pressure on that left hand so that the right knee can feel something coming down. You might feel a little bit of a pop through the lower back. Low back, hips, hamstrings, quads, everything really working and engaging through those heavy back squats we did in the beginning of the week. So it's good to stretch it out. Inhale, right knee up towards center. Right knee stretches, right leg stretches nice and long. Left knee comes in towards the chest. Deep breath here, finding that squeeze in towards the body. Drop the right knee over to the left. That's not right. Drop the right knee over to the right, across the body. Left hand stretched out to the side. Gaze can stay up, or left ear can drop towards the mat. Allowing that pressure down to kind of open up. So it's down and it is away from the body. So I'm kind of just working that ability to open up through the outer hip. Next exhale, come back towards center. Both knees hug into the chest. Reaching in between your legs with your hands to the outer side of both feet. Coming into happy baby. I'm not there to see this, super bummed. But from happy baby, pulling down on the outsides of the feet to draw those heels and those feet over the knees, and then trying to bring, so I may be curled up. My goal is to try and bring that sacrum, that flat part that we felt on the back earlier in our wide forward fold. We're trying to bring that flat part back down towards the mat. And then extending one leg at a time. Feet just as wide as the mat, if not a little bit wider. Feet falling open towards the side, hands nice and wide, chest open. Breathing deep, sinking into the floor. In this moment, the moment at the end of this practice, if I have anything going through my mind at this time, trust me when I say if I have anything, there's 90% of the time something going through my head, but I kind of just take a quick little inventory of how much I kicked butt this week. It sounds silly, but I want all of you to just, while you're laying there for a second, I guarantee some smiles will come across your face in the room. If you just think about I worked that hang clean and I got it, or I added an extra plate to my box jumps that I was doing this week, or it was 10 more pounds, 5 more pounds, Leisha, 5 more pounds to something, and just really soaking it in, like feel it through your entire body here, how awesome each and every one of you are. I don't know if it's like the time I spend away from down there that I just get really grateful for everyone there. And these moments, these times we get to spend with each other, challenge each other, break out of our comfort zones, and just grow, not only like in our muscles, gains for days, we are growing as people, I believe, each and every day. Wiggle those fingers and toes. Roll onto your right side, using that arm as a pillow. Pushing down through the left hand, coming up into a nice seated position. Hands at the heart, sitting up nice and tall. Let's do 3 big deep breaths together. Inhale. And exhale. 2 more. Inhale. Pause. Exhale out. Inhale, nice and big. Gentle pause. Exhale. Namaste. Have a great week.